The Survivor Series, post Survivor Series SmackDown. This is the Wrestling Inc. podcast. I'm Glenn Rubenstein, joined by Nick Hausman, who's very frustrated this morning.
What are you talking about, Glenn? I'm absolutely having a great morning, Glenn, here in beautiful San Francisco, California.
Tech capital of the world. You can't get your goddamn internet to work.
Look, I went and I called Zuckerberg, and I said, Zuck, figure this out for me. I got to get on the WINC podcast. And he put it through. He's a man of many means.
Well, there you go. Justin LaBar with us. Justin LaBar celebrating his 1-year anniversary of turning down a job with the WWE.
Well, it wasn't a full job. It was freelance work, but yeah. But a lot of other factors to it. It's weird. I realized I was a year ago today, or a year ago yesterday.
No, I saw the tweet, and of course, inquiring minds, everybody's thinking, what did Justin LaBar turn freelance work? They're like, we don't even need to pay people full time to ruin our programming. We could do it freelance and not give them benefits.
Yeah, no, it was freelance opportunity. It was interesting. It was something that probably years ago I would have not turned down, but it was weird the way it came about. And I had it on my calendar because it is birthday and holiday week for me, so I remember it really well. And it was one of those reminiscing yesterdays. But it was, as I said in the tweet, I shared it just as a reminder to people, like, make your own path, own you, because it was something that I never thought I would do. But yeah. I'm not having as nearly the exciting morning that you guys are, though, from the sounds of it.
Well, I'm not having an exciting morning, Justin. First of all, were you gonna be Peter Rosenberg? Were you gonna be doing the panels?
Was I gonna be Peter Rosenberg? No.
I can kind of see that.
Nobody can be Peter Rosenberg. Nobody can be Peter Rosenberg.
I really have to admit that, yes, I am frustrated because of the tech, and I'm coming down now, but this phone in my room wouldn't turn off, and moments before we went live, I literally ripped a cord out of the back of a phone and threw the phone into a bag across the room. So, we're having a good time. I'm energized.
I wish everybody could have seen that. That was...
Yeah.
All right, well, SmackDown, right? Isn't that what you're going to talk about?
Yeah, I don't know, man.
Do you want to talk about I've had 3 tech people here this morning. Do we want to talk about that? No?
I don't know if the WINC podcast can handle that kind of excitement, Nick.
I know. It's a lot.
Day before Thanksgiving. I mean, come on. Let people keep some energy. SmackDown last night, post-Survivor Series. Good Lord. This should have been a hot show last night. And there were some hot elements to it, given that Survivor Series SmackDown got shut out completely. But Daniel Bryan and Charlotte had the 2 most talked about matches of the night. I think their segments last night definitely were interesting in the sense they kept, a little bit of that momentum going. But I don't know. Justin LaBar, did you expect more from SmackDown last night, the SmackDown the week of Thanksgiving?
Yeah, I did. Just because there's so much. I mean, yeah, I know it's a holiday week, but you're coming off Survivor Series. There's so much that's going on. I mean, the focal point of what's going on in WWE is from SmackDown with Daniel Bryan as champion now, having the match he had with Brock Lesnar, and of course the whole Becky Lynch situation. And SmackDown was just bad. I mean, I can't recall a SmackDown that I've been more unenthused to talk about.
See, I would say almost more. I can't recall SmackDown I've been more disappointed by, only because the stakes were so high after Survivor Series. Nick?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stuff that didn't really click on all cylinders last night. There were a couple things I didn't dislike, which, I mean, I know we're going to go point by point here in just a moment. But overall, yeah, and they do this a lot with the holidays. I'm really kind of surprised they did something like a trick or feast fight they called it the Thanksgiving feast fight on the heels of the trick or street fight, which was just so not long ago and involved many of the same players. I mean, it really felt like a lack of creativity that led to like that kind of decision and a couple others on the show.
Yeah, so we opened up with Charlotte out there in the ring, explaining a little bit of her actions from Sunday again, saying, she's fought with Becky alongside Becky. She was fighting for Becky on Sunday. Charlotte came out, Paige came out and said that while Charlotte's viciousness in attacking Ronda was one thing, she laid her hands on 5 WWE officials, and you do not do that. So she fined Charlotte $100,000. Just kind of a weird wrinkle in the story. And then they were interrupted by the Iconics, who essentially said Charlotte should give the $100,000 to them. And then Charlotte ended up wrestling Billie Kay, beating her handily, and then challenging Peyton Royce for a match that didn't really get going before Charlotte won by DQ. So 2 wins for Charlotte, a big speech explaining her motivation, and she owned the first 30, 35 minutes of the show. Justin, did you like this spin on the Charlotte character and where they're going with this?
I didn't love it. No, I kind of feel like I kind of felt like, okay, we have Becky who's out for an unknown amount of time until she gets cleared from her injuries. It kind of felt like Charlotte trying to play Becky, and like what's made Becky so successful in this last 6 months, 5-6 months. It felt like it was Charlotte. It felt like they were just trying to tell Charlotte, okay, go out and do what Becky does. That's what I felt like.
Bootleg Becky, as the kids would say.
Yeah.
I don't really necessarily mind that as much. I think it's great that you pull on that kind of character trait from someone like Becky, and I don't know that it's necessarily like trying to be Becky, but I do think that there's something to more gray area characters. I think there's something to good guys or people that people like starting to do bad things that people like. It kind of reminds me Attitude Era-ish. And when you see Charlotte and Becky eventually get back together and Charlotte has this edge and Becky has retained her edge, I'm very interested to see what that dynamic looks like, because I don't know that Charlotte is necessarily trying to be Becky. Charlotte had already been driven to a very dark place before this. She had that same scowl on her face last week when Becky picked her to go take on Ronda Rousey. I just think we've got a darker, edgier Charlotte Flair character, and that part I'm okay with. I think it's great to have more three-dimensional characters like that in the women's division. And I honestly didn't. I know some people didn't like some of the stuff she said in the promo, the way it was scripted, but I thought the edge there, the presence, I was a big fan of that.
I don't think they would do this, but I liked what I saw last night when she wanted that additional match, when she beat Billy and then she wanted Peyton. She almost had this sort of fervor to her. I described it on Twitter. I could see them doing a storyline where it's like a Walter White type thing, where she just has to keep going and keep beating people. She has to prove something. It becomes almost manic, like that episode of Saved by the Bell with Jesse and the caffeine pills. And then that's Charlotte's downfall, is that she is too competitive and wants too many fights. She has too much to prove because she can't reconcile the issues within herself.
That was deep.
Yeah,
I like to Saved by the Bell reference though.
Yeah, man. I also was with you there. And then you brought up Jesse, and then I was seeing her freaking out with the pills in the hallway. I don't really know how that ties fully in,
No, because Charlotte had that sort of manic energy last night when she was like, come on, bring on another one. Let's do it.
Well, but that's the thing is, Charlotte's been so, looked over and lost here because she lost to Becky, right? She was going into that Ronda match, with little momentum, in my opinion. A Charlotte versus Ronda match would have been compelling if Charlotte was a hot character and not somebody who just bent over backwards to make somebody look fantastic, which she had just done for Becky. Charlotte needed to find a way to keep herself competitive in that women's division. I thought what she did at Survivor Series by laying out Ronda Rousey was a great move to keep some fire on her, to show that she still has some aggressive energy to her. She didn't lay down and take the loss. And here we have her still on edge, like she's trying to prove something, because she lost for so long. And that's why you got a heated, more hot Charlotte character that wants to take on two people at a time. There is an edge to there. I think it's intended to be that way. I know that a lot of people ragged on this for whatever reason, but I genuinely did not have a huge issue with the first half hour of SmackDown.
Yeah, I think it was just people were disappointed, honestly, that Becky wasn't there. Right?
Yeah, and Becky's not there. So we have the players we have right now, and you take a character like Charlotte, who's beaten, broken, has lost repeatedly. How's a character going to act like that in that position while still trying to assert dominance? And I think that's exactly what we saw last night on SmackDown.
I think Becky not being there is a big factor. Really, if we look at it to be fair, obviously, at least I think so. I think Sunday at Survivor Series with Charlotte and Ronda was just phenomenal. A hell of a finish, and that whole just going crazy. I mean, Stone Cold Steve Austin's praising it. I think really to follow that up, I think so. We're all waiting to see. Okay, what is Charlotte going to do? Are we going to see Becky? I think that was a big, that's a big thing to look forward to for SmackDown. And I think with Becky not being there, I'm not sure what Charlotte could have done, for me at least, in my taste. That it wouldn't have been disappointing. She tries to be more edgier, as we're talking about. To me, it just came off as too much of her doing Becky without Becky being there. I don't know. I think basically just Sunday was so good, it was just tough to follow. Unless you had Becky there, I think it would be. Unless Becky was there, unless Ronda comes over to SmackDown, I think it would have been. I think any which way, I think it was going to be hard to follow that performance Sunday night because it was just so off the wall aggressive.
Yeah.
Yep. We got the Miz TV last night. Miz having Shane McMahon as a guest coming out there and trying to ask him about the World Cup, best in the world. Shane won that at the Crown Jewel. Miz finally asked Shane if he'll team up and be his new tag team partner. And the co-besties, the best team in the world. Alas, that did not happen. Instead, Shane called out two enhancement talents, the Bryant brothers.
No, I thought Miz called him out, right?
Miz, like, that's right. Yeah, that's right. Miz called him out. I apologize.
Before we get to the two enhancement talents, can we just talk about how Shane McMahon, like, people are confused by heel Shane McMahon? Like, I think people want to still like Shane, right?
Yeah. He came off weird last night. He came across a little apologetic, a little smug, but I don't get where the storyline's going. I mean, Justin, do you understand this at all?
Not at all. This is usually when a McMahon is heel or face, it's pretty clear cut, and usually it's more clear cut that they're heel. This is bizarre, and like I don't get anything from the past 6 weeks. I mean, like, so it's a big deal about the World Cup. He's going to fire whoever loses the World Cup. Shane ends up winning the World Cup, and it's all about Raw versus SmackDown. SmackDown gets swept. I don't know. Like, I don't know what Shane is what I think Shane's supposed to care about. He doesn't care about, and then I think that he's supposed to be mad. I don't know. I can't get a read on what they're trying to do with him. I feel like maybe they've had multiple directions that they've been trying to figure out where they're going to go creatively because nothing makes sense.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Again, that's why I go back to the state of confusion with the fans. I just don't think they know how to react to this, and especially with Daniel Bryan turning heel. And Miz, I don't want to say is like in a baby face position, but I think people are like kind of lukewarm on Miz right now. This was just a very awkward segment, I thought, for the viewing audience.
Well, you know what it is that after, starring in 4 Marine movies, the audience just sees him as Jake Carter. Natural baby face. Can't separate the fact from the fiction.
Was that your way to bring up the fact that we talked to James Nunn, the director of the Marine 6 this week?
Yes, it's coming out, I believe, tomorrow.
Tomorrow, yeah. 45-minute interview with James Nunn, the director of Marine 6, Glenn and I. It's our Thanksgiving side dish for you and your family.
That and people, it could be skeptical all they want of the WWE Studios films. I thought that interview was fantastic. I thought the way he broke down how they make those movies, the challenges, the way they involve talent. I am more pumped than ever to see what WWE Studios does next.
Yeah, look, I really, really enjoyed the interview. I'm going to go back and watch more of these films now, and I highly encourage everyone to go out there and find them. Or find this interview tomorrow because I've played it for a couple people now to just be like, hey, does this grab you? I've had people watch the Marine 6 because of this interview that I played with Glenn and I, and in general, it gave me more of an appreciation for Miz than watching this movie, the Marine 6. I actually liked the Miz more because of that movie. Bringing me back to this segment here again, you have 2 guys in the ring that the audience doesn't really know. Do they want to like these guys or do they want to boo these guys?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, everybody loves Shane. There was a dark match after SmackDown last night, which was The Miz versus Daniel Bryan, and The Miz was getting face reactions. The Miz after even thanked everybody for coming out 4 nights at the Staples Center. I mean,
he's good. Yeah, he's like practically a good guy right now. Even when Shane came out, he did that, like, he mocked Shane doing the Shane-O shuffle, right? And everyone was like, ha ha, how dumb is Shane McMahon? Oh, I like that Miz guy.
Yeah, it's very, very strange, very different. So this led to a match with the Bryant brothers. The Miz got pinned pretty easily. Now, who was it that pinned him? Everyone on Twitter was freaking out about this.
That's Eli Everfly. Eli Everfly was last seen at Joey Janela's LA Confidential. He's regular at GCW, and Eli's been around for a long time, hasn't he, Justin?
I don't know. I don't know him, unfortunately.
I feel like he's had a hot minute or 2 here in the biz, but yeah, he's very popular amongst the IWC hardcore fans, especially if you follow the GCW stuff. He was known.
Cool. Well, before we continue, I want to take a break. Thank the sponsor of this episode, and that is NEFE. NEFE is the National Endowment for Financial Education, and they are promoting their blog, which is called On Your Own. There are thousands of financial blogs and websites out there, but how do you know what information to trust? On Your Own is a personal finance blog that provides free and unbiased information that anyone can understand. So whether you're starting out in the real world or just looking for a new financial beginning, On Your Own will be there as a helpful guide and your biggest supporter. On Your Own blog articles are written by personal finance experts from the National Endowment for Financial Education. The NEFE is the leading nonprofit national foundation dedicated to inspiring empowered financial decision-making for individuals and families. The On Your Own blog covers a wide variety of topics, including how to choose a credit card, how to start investing, and what to do if your identity is stolen. The blog only links to reputable resources that you can trust, so all of your personal finance questions can be answered on the blog or by one of their resources. Check out onyourown.org/wrestlinginc. That's Wrestling INC to learn more. And this is a great free resource that will empower you to make better financial decisions. That's onyourown.org/wrestlinginc. And we thank them for sponsoring the podcast. Love having NEFE do this outreach. I was checking out the blog. It is a great resource. I mean, stuff like understanding a 401k, the fine print of contracts. I'll tell you, my finances. Yeah, I mean, seriously, my finances have been up and down most of my adult life. And NEFE is actually a resource that I've used when trying to understand these complicated issues. I urge all of our listeners to check it out. And again, best of all, it's free, onyourown.org/wrestlinginc. And we thank them for sponsoring our podcast.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I'm in constant need of financial help. So I'm going to, I need this.
Yeah, I'll tell you, if you could only talk me out of buying Funko Pop vinyls, or it's just like, ooh, there's a Trading Places collection. There's like 3 variants of Dan Aykroyd. I need to own them all.
Well, you're not buying, you're investing in
true.
Funko, first of all. So
it's true. God, when are we getting an official Funko Pop Becky Lynch? How has this not happened?
Have we not had one yet?
There's not been a Becky one. There's been, there's been Asuka, Bayley, Sasha, Alexa. Ronda Rousey has one in UFC. She's got one coming out now for WWE. They only tend to do one woman wrestler in each sort of wave when they release them, but I'm shocked they have not done Becky so far.
Interesting.
Yeah, I have 2 Becky customs that I actually made for my wife for last Christmas. But yeah, I think it would just be printing money, Funko and WWE. Get on it. So last night, oh man, I can't believe we actually have to talk about this. The Thanksgiving feast fight, the New Day versus the Bar and Big Show. Big E getting friendly with that turkey.
Yeah, that was the highlight of SmackDown for me, was him licking that turkey.
How about you, Justin?
It's got to be a record. New Day has probably done more segments with food in their career than any other WWE talent, I think. It's like, yeah. And the thing is, normally when I would say somebody's pigeonholed to be the one that has to do the comedy with the food, you'd think their career is floundering, but yet the New Day's got, they're surefire Hall of Famers. They've had, excellent career for the last 5 years, but whenever the food comes around, they're just automatic.
I think they're in that stratosphere, and it's funny, we were talking about this with The Miz earlier in a face turn. I think of people like The Miz and the New Day, they're almost more like WWE ambassadors at this point. And I think that gives them sort of protected high-level status where they're going to be the ones that do these segments. They're good sports. They're up for anything. And because of that, like, their position at the top is secure in perpetuity.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is the reason they're going to be there for so long is when you're doing something as ridiculous as a Thanksgiving feast fight and you can go out there and make it half interesting, they're going to keep you around. I do feel bad that they have been kind of pigeonholed in this spot, though. I mean, for Kofi's had a great long career, but guys like Xavier and Big E, there's still a lot left in front of them that they could be accomplishing. And, week by week, month by month, as you kind of keep them in this role, it stigmatizes them in a way with the fans. And as much as I love the New Day, and I know they sell a lot of merchandise and stuff, I do have hopes that these guys will eventually break up and spawn off into different things. And this doesn't really make me feel like they're competitive wrestlers in the division,
The difference here is, though, they got that intro. I mean, think about when they had Gallows and Anderson do like the Halloween fight, or Rhino and Slater, I think, did Thanksgiving last year. Like, when you don't even get your entrance, when you don't get any mic time, I think there's a big difference between tossed in a suit and shoved out there to do something stupid or being the star of the segment the way New Day was.
Yeah, and I get what Nick is saying. I certainly would like to see, for as long as the New Day has been together, I certainly would like to see. I think they could still be the New Day. They could still be associated with each other, but I think they could go off and have separate storylines. I think you could see Big E try to, compete for a singles title and what have you. So as much as I want to see that, and I agree with what Nick's saying, I think there's also, we have to look at what the other side of the coin could be, which is, if WWE did decide to say, okay, you guys are no longer going to be the traveling trio, we are going to try to have you guys do separate stuff, maybe even put one of them or two of them on a different brand. you do worry. I look at how many other people we look at that, the booking is inconsistent or get lost in the shuffle. So in some ways, it might be as long as they're the New Day, as long as they're going out there dancing with cereal and pancakes and turkeys, they're protected. It's almost like they're in protected status, where if you break them up, there's no guarantee of what could happen. Granted, I'd like to see them attempt one day. I especially like to see Big E trying to get a run, because I think there's a lot of potential for a man of his size. But you do have to worry. We have to beware of what we wish for with WWE, that if they did break them up, who knows what could happen.
Yeah, make it more of a stable than a tag team.
And as much as we talk about keeping the New Day viable, you've got the Bar and the Big Show over here. And the Bar, Cesaro and Sheamus are intimidating men. The Big Show is an intimidating, gigantic guy. I don't understand why they are the group that has been paired up with the New Day. I mean, there could be something to be said about the New Day. Oh, they're cartoon characters. Oh, wacky slips and falls, big turkeys, shots and stuff like that. I don't get that from the Bar. I don't know why they are the ones that are being forced to go out there and do this stuff with the New Day.
You're right. I mean, it really should have been Sanity.
Oh yeah, great, yeah. I don't know, Justin. I know that you're friendly with Sheamus and all that. Do you know why these guys have been pushed more as a comedy act as opposed to being treated like legit badasses, which they both are?
I mean, I don't have a direct quote from him that I can relay, but I think it's some reasoning of everybody. It's kind of like this goes across the board for everybody with WWE and Vince. Like, okay, yeah, we know that you're big, we know that you're a serious threat, but it's kind of like you got to be able to you got to be complete. It's the same reason why they made Baron Corbin in this authority role, because they said, okay, you're big, you've learned to work in the ring. You got to look, but you got to look. Now you got to get comfortable in the mic. We're going to put you out of your comfort zone. So we're going to have you start talking. So I think with Sheamus and Cesaro, I think it's a case of they do it well. They have fun with each other. Yeah, we all know that they're both legit badasses and they're both very good in the ring. And they've had, well, Sheamus more than Cesaro, they've had viable singles runs and title wins. It's just kind of like it's casting. It's what do they need right now? They have some other badasses in other places. So Sheamus and Cesaro are the reliable tag team. Again, they like each other legitimately. They travel with each other. They're good friends. They can pull some comedy off, so it gives you that WWE's always going to have comedy in the show. So I think it's just a matter of nobody, very few people, unless you're the Undertaker or Brock Lesnar, or there's very few people that are not subject to. You got to be willing to do a little bit of everything in WWE. Nobody, nothing's above anybody.
I guess I just wish when the holidays came around, they didn't get distracted by the shiny thing in the room, because I feel like it was literally just 2 months ago that we were raving about the SmackDown tag team division and how it was outshining the Raw tag team division. And Raw was all these comedy characters, and the SmackDown guys, man, they could go out there and have good matches and be realistic. These guys got derailed because somebody was like, hey, candy and turkeys, right? Like, it's been from Halloween to Thanksgiving, and then there was the weird SmackDown 1000 in the middle. I don't know how quickly this division went from being one thing to being the thing that I saw last night. I don't understand why, if this is working, especially with like the rumors that Fox wants a more, athletic oriented product, why are we making these guys fall around in mashed potatoes?
That is an interesting point. I'll be curious to see this time next year when they are on Fox if we still get these same shenanigans.
Yeah, man. Remember, the Bar wasn't a match Sunday where a guy wet his pants. We're the most dominant tag team in Raw when the manager of that team wet his pants.
Yeah, well, pee jokes.
Oh, Jesus. You know what I think part of it is? Sheamus and Cesaro sell that reaction, that dumbfounded reaction, very well.
Yeah, I mean, they're good straight men. And maybe that's the thing, is they need good straight men because the New Day are just so wacky and whimsical, and you need somebody to play off of them. It's just, for me, again, when I see it so clearly laid out in my head that this division was one thing 2 months ago, that now it is a completely different thing. What happened in a 2-month period where they said to themselves, man, this division is cooking. We've got some really interesting characters. People seem to be behind this tag division. How did they fall from grace so fast that they are now literally rolling around in gravy and corn? I don't get it.
I don't know. I mean, thank God it wasn't the Usos. That would have fit their shtick.
But where are the Usos, right?
In the Uso Penitentiary.
Great, thank you. Yeah, it is. You bring up the Usos. The Usos New Day had like a series of great matches. The Bar was in that mix as well. I just, it's like, oh, well, it's the holidays. I guess it's time to make everybody look stupid. I don't get it. I just don't understand that logic.
Wouldn't you like to see a day in the life of Road Dogg? back there, and a lot of stuff he's trying to sell to people. And they're like, but why do we got to do it? He's like, Vince has this idea, man. You know, he loves the Thanksgiving stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know. New Day won that match thanks to the interference, I think, of the Turkey really got involved in that match. They were building up Randy Orton and Rey Mysterio last night. We'll talk about that in the main event. But before that, Sonya Deville and Mandy Rose versus Asuka and Naomi. Naomi and Asuka matching more, coming across even more as a team, while Sonya and Mandy drift apart. They're telling this story, man, in their own sweet time. I mean, was this even really a turn last night? It was just sort of more miscommunication where they weren't acting as a cohesive unit. Justin, are you excited for Sonya Deville, Mandy Rose feud, and will that even get TV time going forward?
I'm not excited for the feud. I am excited for Sonya Deville, a singles run, or if that's what we would call it here. I mean, I think she's got a lot. I like her. I like what I've seen. Granted, it hasn't been a lot, but I like what I've seen. I like the entrance when she gets a full entrance with the shadow boxing and the light on her. I like the look. A lot of things I like about her. So, I am excited that maybe she's somewhere on the list of 2019 projects and priorities. How long that lasts, how well it goes, to be determined. TV time. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure probably again, look how many shows, monthly pay-per-views, Starcade specials. I mean, there's so much now. So yeah, I'm sure it'll find a place somewhere.
Yeah, and I mean, this is just gearing more towards the women's tag team division. That was really all that I took this as. I don't know when they're going to launch it, but this just kind of seemed like more of a slow tease in the direction of establishing more women's tag units on SmackDown.
Maybe a Christmas surprise this year. The least watched week of WWE programming. They said, we've heard you. We've been building to this for 6 months. Now you get a women's tag division.
But I think that, you bring it up. You say this is the least watched time of the year. It doesn't need to be that way. The holidays traditionally, years ago were some of the best times of the year for people to watch wrestling. You get the family together, you go to a show, you leave the day of Christmas, the day of Thanksgiving. That's what Survivor Series was. Nobody's got work. Theoretically, everybody should be capable of getting in front of a television.
And watching SmackDown Live.
Well, but look, if you're going to say, hey, you know what you're going to get if you turn into SmackDown Live? A bunch of people fall around and food. Like, that doesn't really have a hook to me. You had a hot tag division, right? You had some hot characters 2 months ago. I don't know, again, I'll bluntly say, why when the holidays come around, they decide, oh, let's make everybody look stupid. I don't get it,
So what's going on this year? Christmas is on a Monday, Christmas Eve, Christmas Day is on a Tuesday. Isn't one of the shows moving to Friday the week of?
I know the New Year, because New Year's Day is on a Tuesday, I think, right?
Yeah.
I know that SmackDown is being taped here in Pittsburgh the Saturday before.
Interesting.
So, yeah.
People get some time off this year as opposed to last year.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that's the other thing, Nick. I don't know if it's WWE saying, okay, let's go make them look stupid, or if it is a holiday week, everybody just wants to get the hell off the road and home, and so it's like let's just phone it in. Let's just write the easiest thing we can, which easiest thing we can is stupid comedy.
That's awful.
I'm just telling you. I'm just telling you from their perspective, like, whether it's we just want to get the hell out of here, or whether it is, hey, we don't think there's gonna be as many people watching this week, so we don't want to burn, and do anything critical for storyline. I mean, I'm just saying. I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying from their perspective that might be what it is. Everybody just wants to get the hell out, so let's just go do the food fight and let's get it done with. I mean, hell, they burned 35 minutes with Charlotte, which again, she's probably the right person to burn the opening 35 minutes of, considering what she came off of Sunday with. I think as we all agree, Becky would have been there. But I mean, I think it was just a matter of, okay, Becky, we get 30 minutes out of her. Food fight, get some out of there. Ray and Orton, 2 veterans, we'll get 15 minutes out of them. I think it's just a matter of just getting in and getting out.
So it's interesting. Raw is getting Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve off. They're going to pre-record those shows. I did not see anything about SmackDown pre-recording for Christmas Day or New Year's Day. Doesn't mean it's not happening. I just did a quick Google search. That is interesting. And that'll be post TLC. So
it breaks my heart to hear Justin so straightforwardly say these people are phoning it in. Like, why are we even?
Well, it's not like we haven't had enough. It's not like we haven't had enough years just to accept it. I mean, it is what it is.
Hey, and Nick, it's that attitude that almost got him a freelance gig with the WWE.
It's just, it is, I guess for me, knowing what is possible, knowing where we were 2 months ago, I know you got thrown some curveballs with Becky and Roman, some plans needed to change, but those can be looked at as setbacks or as opportunities. And
sure.
in those opportunities, when you have those gaps open up and you need people to fill them, that's when people traditionally step up and you can create interesting television. To take that opportunity and to just not do anything with it, to not truly create anybody to fill those gaps, set yourself up for a headache here in a couple months, especially as we're now on the road to the Royal Rumble. Mania's on after that. I'm just not getting a real confident vibe from the direction WWE is going with right now. And I know this was a holiday show, but, no pun intended, there was no meat to this Thanksgiving show.
As Enzo Amore, or Enzo, so profoundly said at his Whiskey A Go-Go concert attended by 35 people the other night, when he hit the stage at midnight on a Monday, there is no grabbing that brass ring because the system is set up in place to make it impossible.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with knowing your spot and going out there and doing what you're told. I guess it's just for me, if what you're getting to be being told to go out and do is some silly stuff that's not sending anybody anywhere, that's not a reflection of the talent. Again, that's a reflection of the creative end of it. And I just think that's, again, I had somebody on Twitter because I was saying that I'm really excited for Randy Orton, Rey Mysterio. I think there's a lot you can work with there. And somebody was like, oh, well, Randy hasn't done anything since he got back. Randy Orton is a more confident, well-rounded performer now, possibly, than at any other point in his career. The fact he's not being given more stuff to go out and hit home runs with is not on Randy Orton.
Glenn, is that a legit stat? There was only 35 people at his concert.
It was something like that. It was bad. Did you see the video? Wrestling Inc. has a link to the video and the stuff. I mean, we've talked about this. We talked about this Monday. I want him to succeed. I want him to have a comeback. I fear that is not what is happening. But yes, it was poorly attended. I watched the entire thing. It was.
You want Enzo to have a comeback?
I think, provided he is innocent of what he was accused of. We know the police didn't press charges, but if he is indeed innocent, and things suggest he is, I think wrestling is an industry that we love comebacks. We love to see people screw up, hit bottom, and come back and redeem themselves. Right?
Not Enzo.
Yeah, and if he was going to have a wrestling comeback, I think we'd see him working indies and everything. But he's not even really doing that. He seems focused on this music career that's apparently thriving. So
it's an interesting choice. As someone who listened to his album, I'll say that's an interesting choice that's what he chose to focus on. I don't know. It's weird. It's weird. Actually, I mean,
the thing is, with I'm here in Pittsburgh, and we see this with he's going to be soon be former running back with Le'Veon Bell. And, the guy was rapping and does rap music. Like whenever if you're an Enzo Amore or Le'Veon or whoever, people only care that you're rapping because of what because you are the wrestler, because you are a football player. Once you're not that wrestler, once you're not that football player, they don't give a damn about your crappy mixtape. So just stick with what made you.
I agree with that to an extent. I think him and Cass would be very smart to go get on their hands and knees and crawl to Impact for a job right now. I think it would be hot. I think it'd be good for Impact.
No, but here's the thing, Glenn. I get cleared of all the charges and all that type of stuff or whatever, but this guy had a sitting sexual assault case hanging over his head, did not tell his employer about it. And
he didn't know. His lawyer confirmed and the police confirmed that Enzo was not even told about this. I mean, that's confirmed. So that idea that it was because he hit it from the WWE, Enzo didn't know until we all knew.
Justin, you buy that?
I mean, I go back to, and I'm not trying to sound preachy, none of us live perfect lives, but I go back to the guy shouldn't even got himself in the situation to where it even could have been alleged and accused. I mean, I don't know, it sounds like just the whole lifestyle situations and whatever people he was around and he got himself involved with was big mistake there. I don't know what I buy with this guy. I mean,
if you look at his history in the WWE and what we've heard now about the backstage stuff, I don't think that's his biggest mistake. It sounds like he was making mistakes back in NXT. Like he almost got fired so many times for doing so many things. But I think that if he were humbled and decided to be professional, he's clearly got talent, especially on the mic, really only on the mic. But Yeah.
But he's sneaking into shows. He's like pretending to be people. He's trying to take attention away from the tag team division so that he can get himself over. I mean, are you really? You're telling me you want to give this guy a second chance, Glenn?
But I think he would have to have, as they say, a come to Jesus moment where he legitimately changes his
This guy's done.
Destructive behavior.
This guy's done. He's destructive. He's bad for the business. He's bad for himself. I have no interest in Enzo coming back to WWE.
Yeah, I feel like we'll see his mugshot on TMZ for something stupid eventually.
Yeah. He was kicked off a plane for vaping, so
yeah, he's a dick. He's an ass. I mean, I don't want to curse too much on the show, but he's garbage. I have no interest in Enzo.
Yeah, I don't know. This week, it's interesting. It's interesting that even in Survivor Series week for our business and what we do in online, how much attention he's gotten with the stunt. I don't know. There's something about him that maybe that's part of it. Maybe part of it is that train wreck.
But that's why he's a dick. I shouldn't be watching Survivor Series and talking about Enzo, right?
Yeah, it was funny.
Yeah, I'd love to see. I'm sure the Authors of Pain, Sheamus, Cesaro, and Big Show really appreciated.
Yeah, the timing.
Appreciate him distracting from them.
The whole thing is just crazy. Actually, I urge people go back to listen to Monday's podcast. Matt Morgan told a story when he went to SmackDown after he was dropped in 2005. Randy Orton comped him seats in the front facing the camera and was egging him on to do something. And now Matt Morgan is so thankful he did not do that. What he was planning to do. So, I love the idea that it was Randy Orton, though, being like, dude, come on, you got to disrupt shit, make stuff happen.
No, I mean, it's one thing if the performers are in on it. If you're just showing up and trying to make a scene and distract from the action at hand, you're just a dick, and I don't want you back. You're done to me. You're garbage.
That was also, I believe, a time frame where Randy Orton admittedly wasn't in the most mature and best judgment of days either. So,
yeah,
good thing Matt Morgan didn't listen to him.
Yeah. Who knows? There could have been someone. It'd be funny to find. I'm sure we'll hear more. What have you heard backstage? I've actually enjoyed hearing the backstage comments to the Enzo thing and people being, so happy the security guard tackled him. Just all of it. I find it fascinating. I can't look away from this story. Anyhow, I'm sure this is the last week we'll be talking about Enzo for quite some time.
Don't be surprised. I thought that I was going to have to talk about Alberto Del Rio and Paige one time. I talked about them for nearly 8 straight months, and it burned me out as a person, and I stopped podcasting for a little while because of it.
Because of that?
Yeah, man, when every day it's like the news is about, they got into a fight, he hit her, they're doing drugs or whatever. It's not fun for me. That's not the part of the wrestling business I want to be covering. I showed up here, to cover.
Who do you like better, Enzo or Alberto?
Sophie's choice here with you, Justin LaBar. I would have to. I don't know. At least
who do you want to sit next to on a plane?
Who would I rather sit next to on a plane? I don't know. Del Rio, if he just wouldn't talk to me. I mean, I feel like Enzo wouldn't have the kindness to do that.
Del Rio, if he's not vaping.
I don't know if Del. I mean, I bet Del. I don't know. Maybe he doesn't vape. I don't know. But I would just rather them neither of them talk to me if we're sitting next to each other in an airplane. But I mean, at least Del Rio, he's starting a restaurant. He's running an MMA promotion. He's stupid too. I don't even want to try. They're both garbage. I don't have an affinity for either.
Okay, but here's the real question, Nick. Who would you rather be this week? Enzo Amore, just James Ellsworth, or convicted bank robber Nick Gage?
Oh, Nick Gage. Nick Gage did his time. Nick Gage was convicted, came out, did his time, had a wonderful bout at Joey Janela's LA Confidential with David Arquette that will be talked about for generations.
And hey, it's just a bank robbery, so it's cool.
Yeah, I don't know. Here's the thing: is I know you think this is really funny, Glenn. But if we ever brought Nick Gage on, or I had you interview him, you would not be so confident to be making these jokes.
I'm not making a joke about it, and I actually issued a statement about this. Nick Gage's story. Okay, Nick Gage's story. That was a low point in his life, a low point in his battle addiction, an act of desperation. It kind of goes further to my point why he has a career now and is able to work again, because one, he has paid his debt to society. Two, it wasn't now, yes, there was a threat of implied violence, but it was not a violent act. And it was something that he did at a very low point in his life, and he showed nothing but remorse for it. So no, I've the utmost respect for Nick Gage. and what he has been through and gone
Well,
through.
why would you lump him in with Enzo and Ellsworth then? Like,
No,
that's a no-brainer. Like,
it's a callback.
Obviously, there's like a subliminal thing up there where you're like, oh, these two are awful people. Well, Nick Gage is also an awful person.
Because
No,
the argument we were having last week about how bank robbery is, I don't want to say an acceptable crime, but you can bounce back from that.
You can bounce back from most crimes if you do the time. But
that's not true.
I believe we're doing 2 weeks in a row.
Bird chest! Bird chest! Don't say bird chest! My man, don't say bird chest! Don't say bird chest!
It is weird they stopped doing that the week after.
No?
Somebody saw that clip.
Tell him to rob a bank.
That's a good idea. Do you think Arquette? Well, I know we're going to maybe talk about Arquette here in news. Actually, we don't have a ton of time left. But do you think Arquette gets a Rumble spot?
Should.
I can see that.
Yeah, I honestly a little surprised he didn't pop up when they were in LA doing 4 nights of shows, front row something. I don't know.
Yeah. So after Asuka and Naomi won that match, man, that was a segue. After they won that match, we had Daniel Bryan come out, and it was the oxygen. The oxygen turned him heel.
I saw that tweet. That was funny. Yeah, it's different. It's very heady. It's a thinker, right? Like, you got to think about why Daniel Bryan is as mean as he is now.
Yeah. It was kind of like rambling, and he's got the great crazy eyes and the facial expression. I mean, he looked like the disheveled guy that's rambling outside the liquor store asking for your last bit of change. You know, like, I don't know. It was, I actually like this Daniel. This Daniel Bryan does excite me. I think, you know, good old fashioned good guy, babyface, yes chant. Daniel Bryan was kind of, you know, we've certainly ran the course of it. So I like this bizarre off the deep end kind of Daniel Bryan that we're getting.
Yeah, it's different. You know, I loved when he came out, teased the yes, and then was like no, and then he did his little spin on the catwalk down the entrance ramp. You know, I thought it was good. I think it was a little rambly. Again, it's like a thinker. Like, I don't know if most wrestling fans, especially kids, are gonna really get why Daniel Bryan is a bad guy now, is my worry.
Yeah, but he's got that look in his eye where you can tell he's having a lot of fun with this, and I think that is going to make this a very good run.
He's also probably the first wrestler in a while to effectively use the pejorative "the new" to recreate his character. Right? He's the new Daniel Bryan now, is how he was announced. Traditionally, new rockers, new blackjacks. These have not been successful gimmicks.
Yeah, we'll see if they keep that going in terms of how they build them. But I enjoyed the heck out of this promo last night. I thought it was good.
I think they'll keep it going. He made sure he was announced as the new Daniel Bryan.
Yeah.
While looking like the old Kurt Cobain.
That's true. And I hope that we get a whole lot of parody shirts where it's like, you know, Daniel Bryan, New Coke, or wait, what was it, Pepsi Clear? I don't know, just like
both were things.
Products that were new with Daniel Bryan. New eyes.
Agreed. He's going to be facing AJ Styles at TLC. Rematch for the WWE Championship. Think there'll be a table, a ladder, or a chair in that match?
I would hope so.
Yeah, it seems like a good match for a ladder match, I would think.
I feel like every year they do less and less of the gimmick at TLC.
Maybe, yeah. I guess because you got Braun and Corbin, they're doing the tables match now, right? Is that the only match that's been announced?
Did they say tables match for that?
Oh, I didn't know there was tables.
Yeah, because Braun got to pick the stipulation. I'm pretty sure he picked tables on Monday night. Am I wrong? Did I just hear this?
I didn't know that for sure, but
here, I'll check on the internet.
The internet has the answers. Yeah, I do, Glenn. Like you said, though, I do think that it feels like less and less. Like we'll get like less and less TLC matches at a TLC. It's weird.
It's going to be a TL and C match for Braun versus Baron. So there you have it. But yeah.
Oh, did you already look it up?
I did on the Wikipedia. Braun versus Baron. And no stipulation added for Daniel Bryan versus AJ Styles. It's just a rematch for the championship. Rey Mysterio versus Randy Orton was the main event last night. Oh, there were no piercings for Randy Orton to manhandle. So instead he went for Ray's mask.
I love the RKO spot.
That was cool.
Yeah, this wasn't a long match. There was like maybe 4 minutes of action before they got to the part where Randy was just beating on Ray and going after that mask. I like these two together. Randy really physically dominated Ray here, though. I was surprised by that.
Yeah.
I mean, these are two guys that I really wonder, like what would their WrestleMania role be? You know what I mean? Like they're just reliable veterans who've accomplished everything. I'll really be interested to see like what they kind of fit right now, and in this time of the year. Again, we're trying to fill time and get around holidays, but I'll be really curious like what the big plan is, if there is a plan for them, like around WrestleMania.
Well, and where does this go from here? I would think Rey Mysterio's got to find some way to level the playing field with Randy Orton. I don't know. Does he bring it back up? I don't know what he's going to have to do to be able to, square off against Randy Orton, who, again, just like physically dominated this man.
Yeah. I'm always wary when they bill something as the first time in 12 years. That's always kind of code for like, we got nothing else this week. Trying to get you excited about this. I think a real competitive match against them would be awesome. But I think with Randy, the mask thing, it was too much like Jeff Hardy's ear. I just think they lean too heavily on these sight gimmicks,
Oh, there's nothing. I mean, look, there's nothing wrong with picking something and going after it. And it's going after the leg, going after the arm, going after an ear piercing, going after the mask. It's just a hook, and it's something to get these two going. I think that the mask is a great place to start. It's something that I think these two may have even done before. Where they go beyond it is what I'm more intrigued by. We saw the masking tonight. Again, it was the physical dominance of Randy Orton over Rey Mysterio that had me on the hook of how is this, less than, he's upset about the mask, but more, how is Rey Mysterio going to be able to handle a guy like this? What is he going to have to do to be able to level that playing field?
Yeah. Spot of the match, Rey Mysterio sliding outside of the ring right into an RKO outside the ring. Randy did get him back in the ring, hit him with the RKO, and Randy won the match. So if this is the start of a feud, decent opening. It really depends on what they do from here.
Yeah, agreed.
Weird SmackDown last night.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that. It was a very weird SmackDown. But looking back, they're planting the seeds here with some stuff. I thought, the Charlotte energy, the attitude, I'm willing to let her grow into that. I think there's something about two very passionate, angry, aggressive, gray area characters like Charlotte and Becky sharing space. I think there's a lot you can do there. Was it an A+ segment there with her and the Iconics at the top? No, but it did leave me wanting to see a little bit more. I wanted to see a little bit more of Orton and Mysterio after this. I did not want to see any more of Shane and Miz after this. That was just weird. Why did they have Eli Everfly? Did we ever talk about why Eli Everfly pinned Miz clean? That was a bizarre choice, in my opinion.
Well, Miz, this babyface turn now, man. Sympathy.
Is that Justin? Do you agree with that? Do you think that's what's going to lead to Miz babyface?
No, if anything, that's what you'd think would happen to a Miz heel. With that, he get cocky and then the no-name little guy rolls him up. Yeah,
I thought the same thing. And then he would get real angry at Shane, who would theoretically be the babyface authority character, and would go back and forth with a heel Miz. But it was just very screwy. Maybe
Everfly is the new James Ellsworth regular underdog they're going to keep around, minus the pictures allegation.
Jesus. I don't think anyone wants to be the new James Ellsworth anymore.
No, but it was funny because I was watching it with my girlfriend last night, and she was like, hey, have any of these jobbers ever gone on to become anything? And I was like, yeah, Ellsworth. And she's like, oh. So maybe you're right. Maybe they do want a likable underdog, but I don't know why his buddy was out there, his tag team partner. Feel bad that he's the Marty Jannetty of this situation.
So there's a Shawn Michaels in this situation?
Yeah, Eli Everfly would be the Shawn Michaels in this situation, Justin.
Poor Shawn Michaels.
Oh, good Lord.
I think there's a lot of indie fans out there that would be like, Justin, an Eli Everfly Shawn Michaels match would be much better than you are giving it credit right now.
I'm sure it would be.
If they had proper time to tell a story, sure. Braun Strowman, his elbow is legit hurt. He's getting surgery. Hopefully he'll be back by TLC.
That's what the Observer is saying. Cite your sources, Glenn.
Okay.
The Wrestling Observer reported that, Braun Strowman's got bone spurs in his elbow. He's going in for surgery. TLC match, touch and go. So we don't even know if he's going to actually be able to pull off this Baron Corbin match, but it does look like he's on track to take on Brock Lesnar at Royal Rumble. Yeah.
I don't know when the injury started or when I don't know what point he realized that he was going to need surgery, but it makes me wonder: did this have something to do with why Brock Lesnar won it at Crown Jewel and not Braun Strowman?
Yeah, in retrospect, now looking back on it, there seems to be a couple. There's the elbow thing. There's the bad knees report. There was also the backstage attitude. I think that was all from Observer. I think reports from Meltzer. There's a lot of stuff going against Braun right now. I'm kind of, I'm upset about it because I think there's a lot of money to be having Braun. But if you're not going to be able to invest in this guy, I will say I think it is interesting that Lars Sullivan is now being promoted on both shows, Raw and SmackDown. They haven't said when he's coming in. And if your big bad Braun Strowman is big bad and beat up and incapable of being that top guy and is maybe going to be more in that Andre role of working without a title and helping to get guys over, a big monster on top who can work and is able to go out there and roll with the guys like AJ Styles or whatever would be Lars Sullivan, who, unlike Braun Strowman, did do a successful run down in NXT, learned how to work with those guys, learned how to become a base god. I think that it's interesting that Lars Sullivan right now is getting the hype that he is with all of these reports about Braun Strowman also coming out at the same time.
Has Dean Ambrose chimed in yet on what God is punishing Braun Strowman for with this injury?
That was the most tasteless. I'm glad I'm reviewing SmackDown, and I hate, and it was not a great SmackDown, but man, Raw left such a bad taste in my mouth. That line,
it was terrible.
The Steph dismemberment line, it's just, I know to the casual fan who's not like a journalist or into politics or anything, it's just like whatever. I'm just trying to enjoy the show. But to people that are a little bit more astute, I mean, it came across to me like direct pot shots and, quite frankly, bullying and intimidation to those that would dare challenge them because they could thumb their nose at them and do whatever tasteless garbage they want and take $1.
Yes. Did you guys watch the Dean Ambrose Chronicle on the network?
No.
Not yet.
It's a weird mix of some reality, and it gets very kayfabe at the end. But if that was not entirely kayfabe, get that man some therapy and antidepressants. It was very dark for WWE behind-the-scenes documentary. Like, I felt seriously just sort of depressed and down and angry by the end of it.
Yeah. I can say this. I think he is one of those guys who like really, really kind of lives like very rarely will you get to see him off. Like he's always a little bit in character and on. I mean, Nick, I know you've interviewed dozens of guys. I remember doing the first time I did an interview with Dean Ambrose. It was a phone interview, and like these guys, they'll kind of weave in and out of character sometimes, depending on what their character is and what they're trying to promote. But at some point, you usually get like the real, like they'll drop a little bit, they'll break a little bit. I mean, he was the whole, and it was tough because you're on the phone, so I can't see him, and like I never knew when to start my questioning or stop because like he had no rhythm to his speech. He sounded like if he wasn't Dean Ambrose the character, you'd think he was drunk. He was just very like all over the place. His answers were all over the place. But then I kind of dug around and listened to some other ones, and that's just kind of like him. I think he just does that shtick, kind of like how the Miz is always the Miz, and it's probably only Mike Mizanin when no cameras and no around. I mean, I think that's the situation with Ambrose. I think he kind of always keeps himself in character.
Yeah, I think that he's just I don't know, a metal kid, punk rock kid, anti-establishment kind of kid. A couple of years ago at WrestleMania, I was lucky enough, fortunate enough, I don't know, to come across the people that he had comped for WrestleMania, his friends that he had personally invited to the show, and they were an eclectic bunch. They were they were not suits and ties guys. They were a pretty nitty gritty, hard partying crew of guys, and those were his friends, and I had a good time getting to meet him and everything, but they were not lighthearted merry prankster types. They were pretty dark, and that was the closest insight I'd ever gotten to kind of his circle. And I thought it was very telling that he hangs out with tough, dark men, and that doesn't surprise me.
And he married a ray of sunshine.
I know he likes Jack Daniels. I remember I was sitting at the bar one night, and Renee Young's next to me, and he was on his way into the city from a separate city from doing a house show, and she ordered her last drink to get ready to I think to go meet him, and then they could go upstairs and call it a night. And she ordered a triple Jack for him and took it up to the room. I was like, well, like that's certainly the way to finish the day after 3-hour drive or whatever he was doing.
This run, I mean, it could keep going to some dark places. I liked when they played him a little more smart alecky, disheveled, when they played it for laughs, when he was a mean heel champ before. But yeah, that Chronicle, like it's weird for me to watch. I mean, honestly, everything the WWE puts out normally makes you feel inspired, makes you feel sad, then uplifted, makes you, feel sort of optimistic about life. This was a very weird piece of WWE programming in that it just kind of like made you feel morose and then made you feel somehow worse by the end of it.
And here's the thing is, are we talking about Raw? Are we talking about Raw?
Yeah, no, but it all ties in because Chronicle was like an extension of that. Yeah,
well, and with Raw too, with the line about Roman, the thing that really upset me, and I had a couple people be like, oh, well, they had no problem bringing up Natty's dad. Look, Natalya it was her father, and if she wanted to run that, and after 3 weeks of whatever dumb hype, she beats Ruby Riott and gets a pop, and they roll into the Total Divas season finale, guess what? I'm okay with it. What I'm not okay with is for Dean Ambrose to come out and say Roman Reigns got cancer because of his allegiances to the Shield, because guess what? There are a lot of little kids out there, Make-A-Wish kids, that are dealing with an actual life-threatening situation right now that were Shield fans. And I think it is disgusting for a child to sit there and think, do I have cancer because I supported Roman Reigns in the Shield? And I don't think I'm overstepping when I say something like that. And so it is one thing to play in your sandbox of what you think is acceptable. It is another thing to jump outside of that and say something that could affect so many people. I thought it was tasteless, tactless, and it was in line with a lot of the other stuff I heard on Raw on Monday night.
Jesus, Nick, now I'm worried about how God's going to smite me for saying I hope Enzo Amore has a comeback. It's just like, man, if fandom can get you punished,
Well, look, again, think through your thoughts. Nobody takes responsibility for their actions and words anymore. You think you can just say or do anything you want, and it's just okay. I'm sorry. I'm an Eagle Scout in the Boy Scouts of America. I was brought up a certain way where I have certain things that I know are right and wrong. And going out there and saying something so classless and tactless is what Dean Ambrose said on Monday night is wrong.
I did think the thing about the smell, given the fires. I didn't bring this up Monday. Like, I know what it's like in Northern California with the air quality right now. I understand Southern California is much the same. I thought that was a little weird. I'm surprised I didn't get more shit for that.
Yeah. I mean, again, it's like, what are we doing here? Right?
Yeah.
Randy Orton went out there, cut a menacing 60-second promo on Rey Mysterio about a mask, which was fine for me. Put a little heat on the bout, went into it. Randy Orton acts like a bad guy. He does bad things, right? You don't need to go outside and say these horribly offensive things to try to get heat. If anything, it makes me it doesn't make me more interested in Dean Ambrose versus Seth Rollins. It makes me feel sad that these guys are being involved in a storyline where they have to say such terrible things. It takes me out of that action.
Yeah, and it's just weird. It's just not good. I mean, maybe that's where you and I differ a little bit, Nick. I think artistically, you can cross almost any line if you can make it funny, clever, entertaining, impactful, relevant. For me, it's about the
Glenn,
art.
I performed at Second City, Improv Olympic, the Annoyance Theater. I was trained by some of the best comic teachers on the planet. I have done blue shows. I know where that line is. I get what you're saying. I get it. But that is not what they did here. They did not playfully, in a fun way, step into something.
Well, yeah, it was like a cheap heat sort of thing. It was just sort of like, we're just going to mention it. And the fact that we mentioned it, people will be like, oh,
Cheap heat is when you go out and call somebody in the front row fat. All right? That is what cheap heat is. This was go away heat. This was nobody was any more hooked onto this feud because of what you just said. It was a stupid thing that should have just never been said.
Yeah. WWE this week. David Arquette almost died over the weekend. Could have died in a death match, coincidentally enough, with the previously mentioned Nicolas Gage. And Arquette made a commentary on it, taking responsibility, saying he was in over his head, and that him puncturing, I guess, his neck was entirely his fault. And he wanted this experience, but he realized perhaps the death match not for him.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen different, opinions about this. I mean, David Arquette, has wanted to go out there, try to grow as a wrestling performer. He had this chance to go out there and have a death match with one of the, most scary men on the planet. He got in over his head, moved too fast, cut his throat. He's done. I know Hurricane Shane Helms tweeted out that he thought it was irresponsible on GCW to put somebody out there who wasn't prepared to have a bout like this. I can see that point. But at the same time, there are countless instances of guys on the independent saying, I can do something that they've never done before. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. And I firmly put that in this position here.
Yeah, I mean, the match was well received. People seem to have a lot of respect for David Arquette for going through, finishing it, going the distance, and then owning up afterwards that any danger was something that he put himself in, entirely his fault. I think he comes out ahead in this. I don't know how much further he wants to go with this wrestling career after that perhaps near-death experience, but I think he comes out looking like $1 million and earning the respect of everyone.
Yeah, I think I think it was good by him to put out the statement and take some ownership and responsibility. I mean, we have to remember, and we talked about him last week because he was just here doing a show with us 2 weeks ago, and I said, he was very humble. He's very much still like a wrestling rookie. He doesn't have all these years and miles on the road and in the business. He was he was listening to advice from Tommy Dreamers and some of the veterans that were around. And so I think he's a guy who's in a situation if he's still like a rookie, but yet he's getting booked like a main eventer because he's David Arquette and because he's a draw. So, I think there's some responsibility to the promotion. Say, okay, like, is this guy ready? Does he know what he's doing to be put in this kind of a match? And then part of it is on David. Part of it is on David having to recognize and say, I'm not quite, So I think it was good that he put the statement out there, just kind of like, took some ownership of it, said, this was dangerous, all the respect to it, but I'm not going to be doing it again. And this will probably at least now let him know where his range is to stay, with, not to say they can't have like a good match, not to say that it's going to take him away from like trying to actually have good, solid matches, but remind him that he's probably best to stay more in the comedy side of things and be the guy from Ready to Rumble rather than trying to be, New Jack.
That's all he has to do. David Arquette, come out there, say a couple funny things, act all big and tough, take a couple bumps.
I mean,
the guy,
Yeah, I mean, and I respect him for the fact that he was willing to, like, that he wants to try to make this not just a comedy, but he wants to try to be somewhat legitimate and have, he wants a match against a Cody Rhodes. Like, you got to respect him for that.
Absolutely.
He just has to remember, and it was good that he made the statement that he's still at the level of a rookie, basically, but he's getting main event type treatment in terms of booking requests, so he has to balance that.
Yeah, and guys like Mick Foley will tell you, if you're uncomfortable doing something, don't do it. There were plenty of spots that I turned down. I could have had a DDT from Jake Roberts. Didn't do it, not because I was scared of the DDT, but I hate snakes, and they wanted to put the snake on me afterwards. I didn't take a gore from Rhino through a table in the corner because I'm very inept mobily, and I thought that I'd stab myself on a piece of wood. So I said no to that. Know your limits. If you're one of those guys that's going to say yes, which Mick Foley was, and Mick Foley went out and got hurt all the time because he was saying yes to stuff that he didn't know if he could do or not, I squarely put David Arquette in the same camp.
Yeah. I mean, thank God it all turned out okay and it did not have more tragic consequences. Dana White says he wants Jon Jones to face Daniel Cormier next. What's up with that?
I think it was a TMZ interview. And yeah, it's just a change of pace here. As it was obviously the big rumor bout was Brock, Daniel Cormier. I don't know if that bout's going to happen now. I mean, if they really backed up the Brinks money truck to Brock Lesnar after Crown Jewel, who knows how his commitments could have changed. I mean, do you think a UFC fight's still on the horizon, Justin?
I mean, I think so. He's been training for it. You could tell when we saw him in Survivor Series, he looks a little bit more leaner than he has. I mean, he seems pretty damn committed to doing UFC, but he's also pretty damn committed to taking WWE money. So
yeah, yeah, and you know what? Maybe it's not Cormier, Lesnar. Maybe it's Lesnar, somebody else. I'm not saying that Lesnar's not going to have a UFC fight. It just maybe it sounds like, at least from what Dana's saying, they may be shifting gears a little bit as far as where they're going to take the next Cormier fight.
Yeah, Have you guys heard any more word about how long Brock is around for this time?
The last I've heard was at least through Mania. Yeah, it sounds like that was the last bet I'd heard. So
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
Okay, then. Anything else? Anything else we want to cover? Speculate, talk about?
No.
Don't throw cinder blocks at people's heads, you dummy.
Jesus Christ, that.
I like how somebody upped the ante from Arquette nearly bleeding out from getting stabbed in the throat. It's like, no, hold my beer. Right? You know? Dummies.
This world of wrestling, man.
That's not even wrestling.
Yeah.
No, that's not. Yeah. Well, I will say, I'll plug Glenn and I, yes, tomorrow on the Winkley. We talked to James Nunn, the director of the Marine 6. It was a very fun interview. I think you guys will like it. And on the same show, I'll also have MLW's Court Bauer, and I get Court to touch on a lot of MLW's expansion plans for 2019 and pepper him with a couple other inside baseball questions that I don't think he was really prepared for. So I think you guys will like that one as well.
Yeah, one note, watch the Marine 6 and preferably the Marine 5 before you listen to this interview tomorrow. There is a big spoiler that we discuss at length about the Marine 6.
And he didn't want to talk about it. I firmly got the vibe we were the first people he
No one is talking about it. Like, no one. Have you noticed that? Like, even Corey Graves, when he was like going on and on about it, like, people are referencing this movie a lot, but I don't think, it's interesting. Even people that have seen it are not really talking about that element of it. And I think it's worth talking about.
It's like the Sixth Sense, man. Like, you can't blow that. You can't blow what happens at the end of the Marine 6.
Yeah. And we talk on there a little speculation about the Marine 7.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. We just so you know, Glenn, we have 2 posts coming out with excerpts. First is him commenting on the big spoiler, which is a weird headline for me to write, which was like, Marine 6 director talks about giant spoiler at the end of the movie. So, like, I hope if you don't want to have that spoiled. But then, yes, we also wrote up his pitch for the Marine 7. So,
which we chimed in a little on that. I feel like we helped develop it.
Mm-hmm. And we also include some bits in there about Shawn Michaels and his hair, which will also be written up for the site. So,
that should be our goal, Nick. That should be the 2019 goal, is that we should work to write and pitch a WWE Studios film.
Look, dude, I'm kind of on the hook about just doing a podcast covering every WWE Studios film.
But that should be the goal. We should break them down and reverse engineer them to be like, at the end of this journey, we're going to pitch the WWE Studios on a project.
I'm down. I'm 100% down.
Yeah. We're gonna crack the formula.
So yes, subscribe to Wrestling Inc. Audio tomorrow, Thanksgiving. After you finish eating, sit down, listen to me, Glenn, chat with James Nunn. I'll talk to Court Bauer, and I've also got Jesse Collins on doing the news of the week with me. So great show tomorrow, and I'm Wink Rebel over on Twitter.
Justin, what do you want to plug?
I'll also have a podcast tomorrow morning, my Wrestling Reality podcast. So in addition to listening to you guys, to keep the day full while you're eating your turkey, you can listen to Wrestling Reality. I'll talk more about everything going on, some of which we touched on, some of which we didn't. Follow me at Justin LaBar. Have a happy Thanksgiving to everybody in the U.S.
Awesome. I'm Glenn Rubenstein. Find me on Twitter at Glenn Rubenstein. After tomorrow, I'm out for a little bit, going on a little vacation, but I'll be back. Stay tuned. We'll have some great fill-in hosts for me while I'm gone, and see you next time when I'm back here on the Wrestling Inc. podcast, everyone. Take care.